What if you were just one talk away from your dreams? One idea away from your dreams, one connection away from your dreams. Hi, I'm Maija-Liisa Adams, and I'm happy to be here on the Comeback Champions Summit. I'm a TEDx expert, and I'm going to talk to you about the power of a TED Talk. But I want to talk to you first about my dad. My dad was a farmer, and he was also a businessman. And one day he was at a board meeting. And at that board meeting, things got a little heated when they were talking about money. They broke early for lunch. And during that time, my dad, the analytical man that he is, he had an idea. And he said when they came back, would you mind if I presented that idea? Well, not only were they very pleased with his idea, but someone said, Keith, you're so diplomatic that you ought to be an ambassador. We're also sometimes just one connection away from our dreams. There was an independent auditor there that overheard the conversation and watched my dad's presentation. And he said, I have a neighbor who just moved to Washington, D.C. I'm going to get your name in front of the president. And he did. And one day, just a few weeks later, my dad got a phone call from President Reagan asking, Keith, would you do me the honor of representing myself in the United States of America as ambassador to Finland? And my mom said, my dad stood at attention, his blue eyes sparkled, and he said, yes, sir, Mr. President. So you are just one talk away from your dream. While my dad was ambassador, Barbara Bush and her husband, then Vice President George Bush, came to visit the embassy. They were gracious enough to have a time to visit with the employees and with their families. Here I am with Barbara Bush, and while we're nestled close to each other, I found she's a very personable person. She's also a big tease because she's whispering to the Secret Service, you know, she's single, you might want to ask her out. Barbara Bush does have a great sense of humor and is a tease. She was asked to replace the author of The Color Purple as a commencement speaker at Wellesley College. Alice was not able to come, and the choice of then First Lady Barbara Bush was not favorable there. Near the end of her speech, she did something that caught everyone's attention. She said, and who knows, somewhere out in this audience may even be someone who will one day follow in my footsteps and preside over the White House as the president's spouse. And I wish him well. Sometimes we're just one talk away of getting our dreams. Barbara Bush is on the top 100 talks because of this talk. Some of you may know this person, Brené Brown. Brené Brown is a research scientist, a research professor in Houston, and was asked to talk about the research she'd been doing. She did it on a TEDx stage there in Houston. Little did she know that she would then be asked to get on the TED stage, and that her talk in that 2-year period would not only have been seen more than 600 times, the amount of people in the audience when she gave it, but over 4 million times. Now it's close to 60 million times her talk has been given. It's probably well past that because there are many different counters, but on the TEDx counter on YouTube, it's close to 60 million. It's very similar to Simon Sinek. He's the first TED Talk that I heard because a student of mine was so excited, said, Mrs. Adams, do you know about the golden circles? So that's the power of an idea. And this idea of start with why, the middle circle there that we often neglect by Simon Sinek, launched his career as well. Today, so many people would love to launch their career like Brené Brown and Simon Sinek. But what's the difference between them and you? Well, they've given a TEDx talk and you want to know how to do that. Or you want to know you've been rejected and maybe you want to know why you've been rejected. And you want to know, is there really power in a TED Talk? And I'm here to say that there is. TED was started back in 1984 by Richard Wurman. For 18 years, once a year, they would gather in the Monterey area of California, and the people who were the experts in technology, entertainment, and design, TED or TED, would get together. They wouldn't give you 45 minutes to hold a keynote. They put it much smaller, 18 minutes. In fact, today, most of the best talks are well under 10 minutes, some of them even 5 minutes long, because they have that one idea worth spreading. What's the new thing in your field or industry that will help other people? It's something that you freely give. That's what Brené Brown did. That's what Simon Sinek did. That's what you can do. So Richard was just about to close down TED. He'd been doing it for 18 years. There was a man by the name of Chris Anderson. He was a struggling entrepreneur, and he gave the talk of his life. And it's that one talk that launched where he is right now. He had learned so much. He said, please don't shut it down. Let me take it over. And that one talk brought about his dream. He's now, for the last 19 years, been the head of TED. Now, what we need to know about Chris Anderson is, although it started in 1984 with Richard Wurman, it was Chris Anderson who put the talks on YouTube. And because of that, it was given to the world. Not only has he given the TED stage to the world through YouTube, but he's given licenses that when I started 6 years ago, there were 300 licenses around the world given. That's a regional license. And now today, there are over 3,300 TEDx licenses around the world. I'm holding up 10 fingers because YouTube, 3 years ago in 2018, gave an award to TED for their TEDx channel having 10 million subscribers. You see that in the lower left-hand corner. Now look up ahead, you'll see that currently there are 32.6 million subscribers. YouTube has really launched the TED, and that's why people want to get on there. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the people who I've helped coach and the power that it's been for them in their lives. The first one I saw in person was actually a young adult woman from North Korea, but I saw it in Idaho. She and her family escaped from North Korea to South Korea. Someone heard her story and sponsored bringing her. You see, you volunteer your time as a TED speaker. You don't get paid to speak, but someone brought her over and she told her inspiring story about escaping North Korea to South Korea. And I thought, wow, that would be so exciting to be amongst all these global speakers. There is power in a TED Talk. And I'm going to tell you about some of the people I've gotten to coach after I saw this first one. This woman had tried 3 different times to get on a TED stage and been denied. But she worked very hard, and you see the smile on her face because not only did she get to give her TEDx talk and rocked it, but what she got from it was confidence. This woman did not have a bachelor's degree, but preparing for her TED Talk gave her that courage. She gave it 4 years ago, and just this spring, she graduated with her bachelor's degree. This is Justin. I got to coach Justin. Justin's last name is Osmond. There's something a little bit different between him and Donnie and Marie and him, though. He happens to be their nephew, but he's deaf. So as I coached him, I said, you know, Justin, there's just one question we want to know. And that is, you're an Osmond, you're musical. Can you sing? And he said, I am musical. Notice on the stage there by him, a violin. I said, if you can play the violin, then you need to end your talk with that. So you need to come and give the talk that only you can give. That's one of the top 10 tips that I offer people as a speaker coach focusing on TEDx talks. He is the son of Merrill Osmond, and they now have a speaking business together in corporations. There's power in a TED Talk. These two were on the same stage the same time. Luke, on the left-hand side, was talking about SHP, which is Sleep in Heavenly Peace. He's someone that has a nonprofit that makes sure that beds get given to the individuals who do not have beds in their homes. He's the founder and CEO of Sleep in Heavenly Peace. April came to speak about the dangers of small phones. We all have our phones around right here. And she's saying, I have 3 young boys, and they were very isolated by being just on their phones all the time. So she came and told us about how she detoxed and how she's been speaking all over the United States to schools and to police offices. And anyway, the two of them have now begun working together. So what they got from it was not only their own TEDx talks and exposure, but now a working relationship. This particular woman was on the stage And she talked about gaming as well in a different way. She talked about her adult sons, or her young adult sons, and how it was a way for them to actually socialize, that while their dad was watching the Super Bowl for 4 hours all by himself, they were gaming with other young adults around the world. And esports have become quite a big thing. Well, it became popular enough that there's a part of TED called TED Ed for education, and they have a blog. And so she got paid once she did her TED Talk for them to turn it into a post or a blog about her gaming kids. The other thing about her is she's ready to give her second TEDx talk, and she's come back to have me coach her again. Now, you might be wondering, during the pandemic, are there still TEDx events happening? And are you able to stand in the middle of that red dot that the TED stage has made so famous? Yes, they're still happening. And in some cases you can, but this was January of this year. Well, it was actually of last year in the fall when Janet got to do it virtually. So the fall of 2020 in TEDx Beacon Street back in Boston. And she wasn't able to go in person because they weren't able to hold that event, but she still was able to give it by recording it virtually. Like you're seeing us virtually, we've already pre-recorded our messages for you. Now, there's TEDx on YouTube. And if you get enough views in the beginning and have something that's interesting enough, that really does have a story with an idea wrapped around it. Remember, you're just one idea away from your dreams. Then you get bumped to TED.com. And that's the case. This is Janet on TED.com. It's her TEDx talk, but she's on TED.com as well. You are just one talk away from your dream. Now, this woman from Chicago is delighted that she has 287,000 views and growing. She now predominantly works around white men. And so she talked about diversity, which has had a great impact where she lives now. This is Lacey, and Lacey has over 371,000 views. Each time I talk about this, I have to put a new graphic there because it keeps growing as it does for these other TEDx speakers that I have coached. Lacey talked about, if you look very closely, you'll see some scars against her chest. And she talks about how she had both implants and they were making her sick and she almost died. And also in the process of having those examined, found out that she has double markers for potential breast cancer. So she had an explant operation and a double mastectomy. And even though her talk was challenged just a little bit by TED because it's so science-based, and she was pushing against the implant group, she has over 370,000 views, many of them people who are wondering what they can do differently and what her story was. This is Bill, and take a look at this guy's jacket. This is Bill's stealth bomber jacket. Bill has talked about the secrets of success, and these are skills that he learned in the military. He's also the type of person who says, I don't care if there's 1,000 people applying to be a stealth bomber pilot and there's only one slot, I'm gonna have it. And he was. And he came and talked about his mission and what he learned from that, how to be a success and how we can use that in our life. Now, he's one of the first people that I coached, and we only had 3 weeks together before. He'd already been chosen, already had the stage, they'd already done a little bit of practicing. And so I came in and, there's more work that could have been done. In fact, we kind of botched his intro. In fact, so much that he wouldn't even watch it. And every once in a while he'd peek to see if anybody had watched it. He said to his kids, don't even watch it. I don't want you to watch my TED. I'm not going to tell you how to find it, even though it was on YouTube. But suddenly he noticed that his views started climbing, and he'd keep watching and they were climbing again. He'd keep watching and they're climbing again. And then one day he got a phone call, and it was from a division of the military. And they said, we've been watching your TEDx talk and we wanted to interview you. We have some questions. So it had become required reading for the military. Excuse me, not reading, but watching his TEDx talk. So whether it's getting a bachelor's degree, whether it is launching a speaking career with your dad, whether it's getting it turned into a TEDx blog and getting a second TEDx talk, whether it is having the military watch it, whether you're able to influence people of another ethnicity, There is power in a TED Talk. Let me ask you, what's that one idea that you have, comeback champions, that would help you be just one talk away from your dreams? This is Tasha. There are 2 counters on this slide because Tasha got on the stage and her TEDx talk took off very quickly. She has a daughter with severe OCD, and Tasha got into the OCD Facebook groups and started telling them, I'm going to tell Breland's story. This is what I'm going to say. What do you have to add to that? Am I on the right track here? Because she's not the one with the OCD. She's talking about her personal experience with her daughter. And you see over on the right-hand side, there's a different counter. It was so successful that she was also bumped up to TED. And so between the almost 400,000, she's really, really close there on the TEDx channel on YouTube, and another over 400,000 on TED.com. Tasha's over 800,000 views, not even talking about business. She said, I can't even keep up with the emails that come in or the comments that come in and people contacting me. Now, something I want to point out is that from this, Tasha actually was offered a job. She became the vice president of a company, not even speaking about a business topic. There's power in a TED Talk. One time I was at a presentation for 1,000 people. I was not the presenter that time. I was in the audience. This woman, Anne, was the presenter. And she happened to just say, I'd like to give a TED Talk sometime. So on the break, I walked up to her and I said, I can help you with that. Now, Anne had that on her vision board. Anne wanted to have more of an impact with people. Her topic is body language. And as you notice right here, she has over 1.7 million views. That is impact. There's power in a TED Talk. You are just one talk away from your dream. TEDx, there are 3,300 stages. Not all are created equal. There are probably around 300 or 400 that are really great stages to be on, but it's a chance for you to put your ideas into action. And I want to tell you, don't wait. This is Jacqueline. She and I were on the stage after her TEDx event. I had been her coach. She had really, really wanted to tell her story. She's an older woman who struggled with her memory a little bit, with memorizing as well, is what I meant. She struggled to memorize things, but she was so passionate about getting her story out there. And I'm so glad she didn't wait. You see, this happened in March of 2020. And she was on the stage giving her story. Just 3 days later, some of the TEDx stages started shutting down. Had she not given it that year, and if she had wanted to give it at that same place, she still wouldn't have a chance to do it because that particular event has not held another event. And she would have had to reapply somewhere else and go through all of that. So just by the skin of her teeth, she was able to give her TEDx talk and tell her story. Now, fast forward 1 year, fast forward to April of 2021. Again, I'm so grateful that not only did Jacqueline not wait because of the pandemic happening, but unrelated to the pandemic, she herself passed away. There's power in a TED Talk. You may be nervous. Is my idea good enough? Will it have enough of an impact? Will I be able to make it through the application? Will someone notice me and nominate me? There are several tips that I have for you that will help you get into the mind of the organizer and have a better chance to go share that one idea and be one idea away, one connection away, one talk away from sharing your idea on stage. Don't wait. You are just one talk away from your dream. So comeback champions, if you want to come back, I want you to consider taking on the biggest, most prestigious stage of all, a TEDx stage. There's power in a TED Talk. And I hope that you will consider it. I'm Maija-Liisa from Maija-Liisa Speaks, and I'd like to share with you the top 10 tips that I have for those who want to become TEDx speakers. You're welcome to get that at mlspeaks.com. Don't wait. come and give, tip number 10, come and give the talk that only you can give.